Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chile. In 1836, we are playing Victoria 3. I'm Carex, and we are doing a very heavily discussed, heavily commentated, very slow play for newer players of Victoria 3 as Chile, and sort of just trying to create a basis of understanding that would allow new players to be able to consciously navigate their environment in the game and make positive affirmative decisions for themselves on how to proceed in the game. Um, and we've kind of looked at everything. The problem is everything, honestly, the systems in this game are extremely simple, and we'll see that as we play the game. We won't be doing a lot moment to moment in the game. There isn't a lot to actually manage and do sort of as the game goes. It's really just a matter of understanding how the pillars of the game are intertwined with each other, setting yourself on a route, on a course, and then just kind of staying the course and just sort of optimizing things as you go over time. I'm gonna basically put it on speed 4. We might even move to speed 5 because I find that this game, again, there's so little going on moment to moment compared to like an EU4 or like a Hearts of Iron or something, that we're basically going to be kind of just zooming around, zooming through major sort of like checkpoints in time. And things will be happening sort of on the time scale of months or years rather than like, you know, days. We're not really that concerned with days and weeks, to be honest. There just isn't that much simulated sort of on a micro sense. It's more of a macro game, which will let us kind of, I guess what I'm saying is we're gonna unpause the game here, and for the most part, there's not going to be much that's just going to boom happen and change, right? Things are going to be changing at a slow pace. I 100% ignore everything over here. I never look at any of this stuff. I don't care whatsoever about anything here. This is all entirely garbage. It's stuff that we'll figure out. If it's important, we'll figure it out later and in a different context. And we'll think about it, and we'll find it and discover it in the menus and stuff in different contexts. This is literally, to me, this is a sickness. Like how much stuff piles up here. I can't believe you can't disable this. I can't believe this isn't designed differently like the EU4 event system that's much more subtle, customizable. There's no customization to this. Like, I don't care about like the French Indies in the Andes. I don't care about their interest in the Andes. I care about their interest in La Plata. It's so nonsensical. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. But see, I think we need to go to speed 5. I mean, nothing's happening. We're just waiting for these buildings to build. We're waiting for these buildings to build. We can look at our trade routes. You can see these are inactive trade routes. We're going to maintain them, but they are inactive. We are paying bureaucracy for these, but I don't want to get rid of these because here's a secret, just from playing the game. We're in the markets tab. Let's go to the countries tab. Okay. Oh, it takes us to the markets tab because we're looking at this. That makes sense. Once you get rid of these with the United States, you can't get them back. And the United States has a lot of production of small arms and artillery. They're sort of an arms exporter. And basically what I'm saying is we can get cheap arms and artillery from the United States. So we don't want to cancel these because we can't get them back. It's just something you start with at the beginning of the game. I found that canceling these means you can't redo the deal. Because again, it requires interest groups to trade with them if they don't have an interest group on us. And it kind of doesn't even make sense that they would have an interest group on us because they're doing other things. They're doing other things. And again, they're not quite as powerful as England, so they don't have like England just paints the whole map with interest groups. So England, we could rebuild this trade route if we wanted to, but it's good. It's profitable. It's good. Or I should say productive, right? We're getting see, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. We need to get this construction sector online because we're about to cap out our gold reserves, and I want to be spending the anti-clericalism. So here we go. Let's pause the game. I don't like the fact there's no setting to even make it so it pauses when events come up. A lot of times the events literally come up over here, and you don't even get to see them. They just disappear before you even realize they even popped up. You can zoom through the game, but you just got to make sure that you're keeping an eye on these little icons that pop up here and here. These are way too important for how subtle they are. It's almost ridiculous. The state's effort to curb the power of the clergy, remember we're suppressing the clergy, has provoked a backlash amongst the rural folk who are demanding to end these anti-clericalist policies. So the rural folk have sort of some kind of political I don't know. They're just interested in maintaining their church going rural folk, and they don't like the fact that the clergy is being pushed down by the fact that we're trying to do freedom of conscience. Apparently, the rural folk are just. It could honestly be the fact that the rural folk. This guy's a traditionalist. He's a traditionalist. He endorses state religion. This is a contextual event based on the fact that the leader of the rural folk is a traditionalist. That's kind of cool, right? But that's kind of the stuff of how these events in the game go. There is a context to it. If this was a radical, he wouldn't care at all, right? Or a reformer, he wouldn't care at all. But because he's a traditionalist, this bothers him. So this will make the clergyman pops a little bit more radical. Now, there's not really that many clergyman pops, but this will actually increase the anti-clericalism is necessary, and we need to pass this. We need to pass this, and this will actually this is an opportunity to get a 10% increased chance of passing freedom of consciousness. So that's a no-brainer to me. Let the radicals come forth, and we can see we already have 26,000 radicals out of 1 million pop. I'm not worried. Are you? And we can see that some of this is coming from standard of living mostly, almost overwhelmingly standard of living, small amount from discrimination, and 4,000 because of political movements, because there's some of these political movements don't like us, right? The rural folk are unhappy with us. The clergy is unhappy with us, and so on and so forth. So they're telling their people to get radical, right? And then some of our population is becoming loyalists because of standard of living. Well, there's only a small amount of people that are really in a position that they can. Yeah, there's a small amount of people that are so well-to-do that they're willing to be loyalists because they're doing well. Most people are doing pretty poorly right now. Most of our population is unemployed and poor. Okay, so we got this online. Wooden buildings. Now you might think, oh, let's go to iron frame buildings. This costs an insane amount of iron. An insane amount of iron. See here, this is interesting. These tabs are telling us, see, this says we're using 25 fabric and 75 wood. This is telling you it would be 35 less wood, so it would be 40 wood total. So this is calculating it like the way that I would think. This is showing the difference between wooden buildings and iron frame buildings. Anyways, point of the story is this is way too expensive. We do not have the iron production to move into this. It's extremely expensive. In fact, it's telling us right there it would cost us just an insane amount. Although, actually, the funny thing is, are we that far off? 50 more iron. I mean, what would it take to get 50 iron? We could think about this. We could go to resources. We can make it. It's only 20 per mine right now. 20 per mine. I think what we want to do is we actually want to time that. We're going to want to time that with advancements in iron mining technology, because you can get radically more. This literally can double the production. Atmospheric engine pumps can double the production of iron mines, or the condensing engine pump can triple the production of iron mines instantly. So get a couple iron mines at the lower level, get these new technologies, triple the production, and then funnel that production into construction. And I think ultimately that's kind of what we want to do. Now, here's the interesting thing is we're still capped. It says we're only spending 300 on necessary construction goods. I don't think that's fully updated yet, but we also have something called the investment pool transfer. So as businesses become successful, they accumulate. Okay, that's not a business. They accumulate an investment pool, and because of our interventionism, because of our laws. Because we don't have, I think it's traditionalism doesn't allow this. So this allows for some level of investment pool contribution. Aristocrats and capitalists can invest or can contribute to the investment pool, essentially. Where the traditionalists, you don't get this with traditionalism. So interventionism is very strong in that case, where we can collaborate with sort of the capitalists, the aristocrats, and they can help pay for some of these industries that we're encouraging to be built. Basically, they're paying some of the cost. So all this is telling me that honestly, maybe we can actually afford another one. What I'm going to try to do is I wouldn't mind running at a slight deficit right now, right? Deficit spending is good. In fact, there's it's actually quite powerful, because if you can deficit spend in efficient ways and economically bolsterous ways, You can see that all this is okay. Okay, so we might have overdone it a little bit, but I think we will be okay. I promise we'll be okay here. We may have overdone it, but we're gonna be okay. So what's happened here is I didn't actually let the construction yards become employed, so they weren't using their full. They weren't actually using their full. See, it's saying construction goods costs are 6,000. That's insane right now. And that quite literally is because of we need more more wood, and yeah, I'm just gonna crank these up to the top. We need wood. We need wood. Okay, the martyr, fiery Catholic preacher, is showing up in the Capitol, provoking fights with guards and yelling the most incendiary rhetoric. He is clearly attempting to be arrested and make himself a martyr for the faith. Charming. Arrest the man. We can 15%, only 25% chance that we increase the success rate here, which isn't great. We're just gonna leave him be, and it's gonna be minus 10%. We're gonna go back down to 13.6%. So here's the thing: is the way this works is we can see the enactment time here. Next checkpoint is at 180 days. The total cycle is maybe 254 days, it's saying. That means every 254 days it'll do a check here to see if this passes. 13% chance that it passes, 57% chance that there's a debate, like an event kind of thing pops up and we can do something there. And then there's a 30% chance that it stalls out, which is bad. Here's something here, devote scandal. Oh, this is good. So we can, there's a scandal is having a secret affair. So the leader of the Catholic political group, this is not like the leader of the Catholic Church, but the leader of the Catholic political group within the country, there's a scandal here, and we can radically lower their popularity. What that does, their popularity as a leader is essentially going to drive, we can hover over this to read a little bit, but it basically drives people away from this political group, just gives them sort of overall just way less kind of impact. So I overdid it. I was a little bit over exuberant here with building 2 construction. You can see that we're losing tons of money. I think we'll be okay. I think one of the reasons for this is that we're probably wood is insanely expensive. Construction users using 150 wood. That is bonkers. That is absolutely bonkers. So let's see if we can import wood. Maybe from Argentina. Okay, so the way you import wood is you come down to the trade lens down here, and you go to import. This is the way I like to do it. And then let's go find wood here. See what we could do. We can import wood from the British market. It would only be 10 units of wood. It still would be helpful. It would still help us, but that's not great. And apparently we can't import from Argentina because, well, quite frankly, their wood's kind of expensive as well. Now, if we used our 1 interest group, see, Bolivia's not helping us out at all. Forget this. Now, let's go. Here's something we could do that's a little sneaky. Okay, here's a little bit of a sneaky thing. Let's look at the unavailable options. Okay. Swedish market. All these are just saying 20 amount. I wonder if this is because of the amount of convoys that we have that are available. This would only take 8 convoys. The Swedish market, huh? But here's the Russian market is one that's kind of a good one for lumber. So what we could do is we could actually just move our we can move our interest group, and we could literally move it to, that might tap us into the Russian market because Finland's part of the Russian market. This might give us the best of both worlds. I'm going to test this and see if this actually gives us the ability to, that's just letting us know that we're losing our interest in the Andes. Well, duh, we just selected a different one. So we've got that. Remember that extra we don't have the extra minting. I want the extra minting. But we got the stock exchange. That gives us more trade route bureaucracy so that when we set up these trade routes, it's about 15 per. I think it's 20 by default, but because we have that new technology, it's only going to be 15 per. So we could set up a couple trade routes now without losing too much bureaucracy. Let's unpause the game real quick. And by setting up this trade route, not only are we going to earn some tariffs off of that wood trade, but we'll also Okay, why is it not letting us? There we go. What is going on here? There you go. They showed up now. And the Russian market's there too. We have 26 convoys. We could actually just do both. Each one of these is going to cost about 15 bureaucracy though. So let's do that. So that's about 40 more wood coming in the immediate. We're also building this camp. This camp's going to come online. So admittedly, those trade routes are going to be a little less productive. A little less. I'm going to go down to speed 4. Things are kind of moving and grooving here. But you can see that the cost of construction should be going down here a little bit. We still have gold reserves right now. And I'm telling you that we are going to be doing everything we can to push down construction costs. Okay, you don't know. Unfortunately, yeah, I like the idea of, when I play E4, I play at 3 speed. I never move that up. I never move that down. I like a nice steady click. Here, literally, you kind of have to play at speed 5 because nothing happens if you don't. Like, it's just the game just goes so slow. But it also kind of shows that there's kind of a shallowness to the overall flow of things. Interesting that the petite bourgeois, weren't they at like 16%? Now they're way down here. Look at this. So we could look at our interest groups, how they've changed over time. We're bolstering the intelligentsia. They're loyal, and they're giving us a lot of benefits here, right? We've unlocked some of their good things. This is their bad one. The one on the far left is the bad one. The rural folk, old ways, minus 10% technology spread. And pious fiction, minus 10% education access. We don't really have much education. Doesn't matter too much. We're suppressing them, and they've lost some of they're going to lose more political clout. That clout's going to go down now that the state religion has been passed. Sorry, the freedom of consciousness. We've removed state religion. So that should, in the next month or two, this should take it a little bit of a nosedive. Which is nice, because we're trying to marginalize them. We've actually marginalized the petite bourgeois, which is really cool. And the industrialists are actually doing better, and the landowners are creeping on up. It'd be nice to actually push the landowners down, because they can be a thorn in your side. We can see that the construction costs are going down as we're producing more wood and stuff. We need to get this logging camp that we just made needs to get people employed into it. So likely we're still trying to employ. See, it's not fully employed. So if we let this run for another moment. Yeah, it's I guess it's as a weekly basis. Workforce out of it's saying these are all full. You know, it must actually just, that might be what it shakes out to be, but it might also be, sometimes it accounts for the building that isn't actually fully built yet. Actually at negative authority, because of that change, I guess, with the state religion, we actually lost a little bit of authority. Cultural exclusion. So that consumption tax, encouraging the industry in Santiago. Interestingly enough, the industry that we deeply care about is the wood industry right now, which is actually in Los Rios. You know, let's stop bolstering the intelligentsia. They're doing fine. Let's stop bolstering them, and then let's actually go in here and actually expand industry output. In Los Rios as well. I don't want to get too addicted to the fact that we have that on, because then it'll be painful to potentially remove that, but I want to see how we're doing on wood now. Sometimes I'm flipping. There we go, guys. There we go. We have extra wood. We have extra wood. Now, what was our situation with fabric, though? A little bit low on fabric. A little bit low on fabric. We could technically get rid of one of these trade routes. We could get rid of one of these trade routes, which would save us bureaucracy. But we do know that we're going to be building this furniture factory. And this furniture factory is going to use more wood, and the paper mill is going to use more wood, and that's going to reduce the cost. Remember, we're spending a lot of money on our government administrative building that's using very expensive paper right now. Very, 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 very expensive paper right now. GDP has already gone up a chunk. We are building up a little bit of a deficit, which does increase the interest payments. So it's kind of a compounding issue there. But again, deficit spending is not really that bad because all of these things are going to have a chunk of additional GDP growth every time we build these industries. This factory is going to noticeably boost our GDP, quite literally, building up this industry. Because again, we have a lot of people, a lot of demand. This is going to be pure efficiency, basically. And then we're going to do the livestock thing. And then we need more clothing. Our peeps demand clothing. So we're going to build up our textile industry. And that might even require more ranching afterwards. How are we doing on meat? Because meat is a byproduct. The main thing you get from ranching is fabric. Meat is sort of a byproduct with that. Right now we're doing fine. As in we're not overproducing. But I think once we get this textile mill, we're going to need more fabric. So I think we're actually going to want even more than this. And remember, fabric is also used when we're constructing things. So I think we're actually going to want another one of these. Okay, so how's the wood now that we're making all of this wood? Great. And keeping it cheaper just means it's cheaper to build stuff. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. We're also about to get banking, which this is going to increase our minting by 10%. And eventually we're going to be building this gold mine, which also might help too. Keep in mind, remember we said we could raise taxes? Let's raise taxes. Slow the rate of the growth of the debt here. Plus that minting is going to kick in. We have this new tech here. Empiricism, there's a little bit of technology spread, so we're getting a little bit of spread automatically for this. We could just add on our own innovation to just get this done quickly, or we could just let that spread on its own. It unlocks some new laws and things that might be interested. We need to go look at some of the laws. Oh, you know what? No, intensive agriculture. This is going to give us a big boon to our ranching. In fact, how are we doing on just wheat? Because I actually think we might need to be expanding. See, the wheat. I would like to have. This is all coming in from a trade route, which is costing us a lot of convoys, I think. 100 convoys are being used for this trade route. So producing more wheat at home, I don't think is a bad thing. There's also byproducts. Wheat fields have byproducts where you can actually have produce wine or do citrus orchards that make sugar and fruits and stuff like that can be used in consumer goods. And both of these things are certainly not bad to be making. Because as we see, there's going to be some consumption in our... there's some wine consumption. This is kind of just... This is almost just like we're making 10, we're consuming 10. If we were making 20, we might be consuming 20. Because wine and liquor are kind of similar. You could see here that because we're importing liquor, more people consume liquor. But if we were just making more wine, they would just consume more wine. Sugar is something, like I said, eventually we will actually need some more sugar and such. I'm wondering actually if we can go into the building and go into the naval port here. No, there's nothing below. We have it on the lowest production settings. Because the reality of the fact is I don't care about these naval ports, so I wouldn't mind sort of pseudo disabling them by lowering their production modes, but they're already on the lowest one. Already on the lowest one. A lot of this stuff I tend not to care about, to be honest. I really don't. Just saying paper and fabric is expensive. These are goods that the government is using, so it's dragging down our, right? It's increasing our construction costs, increasing the government building costs. So we're fixing that. We're fixing that by making paper right now, and then we're going to be making more ranches for more fabrics. Trade routes, these trade routes don't have enough. We would be importing a lot more stuff here. Although we can fix that by just building more textile mills, which is fine. Why? We don't have to. Importing might be efficient to a degree, but there's tertiary benefits to making your own industry. It might not be as like if England is producing like 10 billion shirts, right? And it's just like they're driving down the cost so much that the English shirts are just so cheap. yeah, there's an efficiency to bringing those in and letting people buy those cheap shirts. But at the same time, building a textile mill, expanding a textile mill, just gives people more actual employment opportunity too. So there's that side of it as well to making domestic. And then you also don't have to rely on the infrastructure that's required to do those large trade routes. As you can see, we don't have the infrastructure to allow this, which is where the port's going to come in. Which is where the port's going to come in, anyways. So you know what? Actually, since the port's coming in, I'm going to actually disable those. We'll see what the situation looks like once we get this port. Those trade routes might bounce out a bit, and we might actually not need more textile mills immediately. We might be able to just work on building different kinds of industry that we need more. It's saying the imported wood from Russia is unproductive, and we can see that summarized up here. Barely considered unproductive. I don't really have anything else I want to do with this right now. And it is driving down construction costs. So I'm going to maintain this. But I think the thing that we could do otherwise is we could look to do some trading with Argentina potentially. Like maybe we could because the thing with trading with a land neighbor is it doesn't use convoys. That's one of the nice things about it. Like importing, I bet you we could import fabric from Argentina. It wouldn't require any convoys, but it still does take bureaucracy. But you could see importing from the Danish market would actually be way more effective because the price of fabric in the Danish market is below the price of fabric in the Argentinian market. And plus our trade route would actually affect the price, right? There might be a much larger economy in Denmark for this kind of thing so that when we import it, it won't affect things that much. However, if we import it from Argentina, it could drive up the price and such. But essentially, this paper mill we know is going to be fairly productive. It's also going to drive down government costs quite a bit. So that's good. Oh, let's get a law going. Let's get a law going. Let's pause and see what can we enact. Well, it's saying right away we could just go right over to here, which would be kind of bold. You could see that people would definitely oppose this. The armed force, a lot of people would be angry to just go right up to this, but this would completely shift up the entire dynamic of our country. It would completely shake up. We would, in fact, because we already have the presidential republic, we could literally just enact census suffrage, and for the most part, that would be kind of gnarly just to go right into that. But then we would kind of, the truth is, we're kind of almost, in a way, we're actually kind of almost benefiting from the fact that things are a little bit more authoritarian as a player, right? Steering this country in the authoritarian state that it's in, we have more power. We have more direct power as the player, wielding the authoritarian nature of the country than if we were to open it up here. Whereas our government, like who we have in government, would be more sort of uncontrollable. You know what I mean? Quite literally. We already have the professional army, and we can't change that. So see, we're kind of like, well, dang, how do we adjust it? We need empiricism to do that. We're actually working on that tech, aren't we? And no, we're working on fertilizer, and it's automatically, empiricism is automatically spreading. So we could just go straight up to total separation, keep curtailing them quite a bit. I mean, maybe we want to get rid of child labor. What this will do thematically, what this does is it tightens the labor market, right? It means that your children can spend time presumably getting educated or just living their lives. It also decreases the mortality rate, you can see, so that they're not injured. It creates more skilled, the labor pool is more skilled by filtering out the child labor, and it drives up wages for the adults that actually are working because they actually have dependents, right? Like children are dependents, they don't have dependents. So and the game does simulate the idea of dependence. So getting rid of child labor basically emboldens, trade unions and stuff, essentially, is what it does. Intervention. Chile's actually kind of a new. Chile's actually kind of a newer. Sorry, what am I trying to say? The laws in Chile are not as. A lot of the time when you start the game, If let's say we're playing in Morocco or something, right? We're going to be doing the slave trade. And it's very hard to repeal that in Morocco because the landowners are so powerful and they're the ones that get powered by it. You're going to have serfdoms, right? You're going to have serfdoms that again squeeze your ability, increase landowner political strength, and squeeze your ability to make change, right? You're going to have this presidential republic. A lot of them are going to start as monarchies. Cultural exclusion. A lot of them are going to start as national supremacy. So the truth is, Chile. I don't want to say the word progressive, but um, Chile starts with some of these things kind of like appointed bureaucrats. Are you kidding me? A lot of these are hereditary bureaucrats when you start in other countries. So we don't have as much work to do here. Uh, both basically what I'm saying is to make a lot of changes right now, we need to advance our technologies. We're actually mostly limited by our technologies than other factors. It is saying that we could actually do private schools. Okay, well, here's a question. Why can't we do public schools? We don't have empiricism. Okay, wait a second. Maybe we want to target public schools. This requires the labor movement technology. Okay, so what if we wanted to do property to women? The rural folk would oppose, landowners would oppose. None of them would become radical, which is important, and the Catholic Church would oppose. This would make a bunch of people that are already happier, which isn't necessarily too useful to us. The workforce, we'd get more people, a small amount of people would be jumping into the workforce, right? Small amount of people could be like women could be shopkeepers, and they could be, just certain it would slowly start to open up women in the workplace, right? So which honestly we don't really need right now because we already have so many unemployed people as it is. So that's not necessarily, I like the idea of schools again, pushing the children into schools. We need more education. We've talked about qualification. Yes, this is a done deal. We're getting public education. And it took us a second to kind of get to that point, right? To think about what our options were, what we need to work on. But we're having an issue right now where we have a lot of just peasantry, right? Like we need these people to be educated because when they're educated, they could fill our factories more effectively, right? Like this is just kind of a good thing. If we weren't building anything, then obviously we would be positive and we could be tearing this down. But you can see that this has gone from like negative 6,000 to something a lot better than that over time. Okay, so we have empiricism. So let's start working on public schools. And really the only people that oppose this is the Catholic Church, because they would rather have religious schools, essentially, right? This is saying a bureaucracy shortfall, so this is going to be trending downwards a little bit. So we're going to need a little bit more bureaucracy, it's saying. Let's get a new research going. A lot of this stuff is going to take this like 3 years to do any of this stuff, huh? And some of these things unlock new laws and new technologies and new, well, these are technologies, but unlock new laws and unlock new production modes and things like that. But some of them actually just give you bonuses. Just having nationalism gives us 10% more authority to mess around with, right? This actually increases the minimum expected standard of living for literacy, egalitarianism, and stuff. I think we do need to come over here, and we do need to do some of these. And we talked about atmospheric engines, right? We talked about how this could radically increase the output of our mines. In fact, we could even do this in our gold mines. So yeah, I think finish this because it's almost done. We're getting natural spread on this. Actually, you know what? Maybe we do this and we let the natural spread finish that off. Yeah, maybe that makes more sense. Since the natural spread is being logical, we'll let it keep being logical. Okay, I think things are going fairly well here, to be honest. That's going to give us more fabric. We're expanding our gold mine here. That should help with the money situation. I'm going to wait and see. You know what? What the heck? What could possibly go wrong? Let's expand the gold mine to the peak. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, industrial barriers. Los Rios are refusing to hire Patagonian people owing to their status as second-class citizens in Chile. All hands are needed to build the future. Now, here's something to consider with this. Okay? These guys are unhappy. If we push them to -10, they'll become radicalized. This actually, usually I wouldn't care about, slapping the clergy around a little bit, but in this case, this actually could radicalize them. Otherwise, these jobs are for the Chilean. So this would add -1. Oh wait. Oh yeah. So this would go in line with the worries of people that don't want. We don't want to hire. In Los Rios, we don't really want to hire, non-Patagonian indigenous people and stuff to work in the factories. So the standard of living for the Patagonian in Los Rios would go down. We could actually see how many people actually are Patagonian. 0.74%. 0.74%. Oh, that's the political strength of the Patagonians. 5.5% of the population is Patagonian. So, I mean, lowering their standard of living for 5 years is not a huge deal. The thing is, though, this effect here, though, I don't like. -5% manufacturing industries throughput. Now, that's manufacturing industries. That's not rural. That's not industrial. That's manufacturing. Do we actually even have any? We've just built the paper mill. So the paper mill is the only source of manufacturing we have in this area. 5 years at a little bit less throughput for manufacturers. It's not that big of a deal. I don't want to radicalize the church right now if we don't have to. So we are going to actually do that a little bit. We're going to bop them a little bit. So we talked about maybe we'll look at that in the next episode. Guys, I think things are going pretty well. I do look at like, if you think about where we were, we built those 2 construction things. Don't do like I did. Just build one. Just build one construction building, because each one is going to be about a couple thousand gold to maintain, right? Although the truth is, if we only had one, we'd be making a surplus and we'd be capping out on our reserves. So then we'd want a second one. So the truth, it's a delicate balance. You want to be deficit spending because that means you're building up your economy. And that economy does pay for itself. It's just there's a little bit of a lagging effect on that. And you can see that technically, you can see with the GDP increase, and you can see with our taxation increases to our tax income and to our, in fact, our consumption tax has even gone up. And our, all of these things, actually, this only goes back a year. Yeah, look at that increase in taxation. That's only 1 year. That doesn't even go back to the start of the game. I don't like that. This graph is useless. If we check this all the way from 1836, I would imagine it'd be a pretty good increase, and that's because of growth of the economy, right? So, which this, for some reason, goes back to 1836, but that other graph doesn't. The UI in this game is just atrocious. Can we all just agree on that? Like, it's embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know. The more I play this game, the more frustrated I actually get with it. It's crazy. We're trying to pass public schools. We're doing a number of things. We actually have 9 building construction thing here, which is kind of cool. And hopefully these gold mines actually will just bring us into the positives. Or really, we don't want to be positive. I think it's for our country, in some countries, like that are even more powerful, definitely want to be running at a deficit, because the small deficit you have compared to the economic growth that you're getting from that deficit is just a positive thing. And for Chile, we're kind of balancing, because we're in our own market. We're a lot weaker of a country. Things are a little bit more touch and go. I would like to be just slightly negative, or, at least have a little bit of a gold reserve rather than a credit, because that interest, actually, to be honest, we're almost at the point where the interest is actually by itself creating the deficit itself. So to bring this down in such a way that we could curtail the interest, I feel like would at least be efficient. But anyways, we're not in trouble, I guess is what I'm saying, but we are hopefully going to bring it back with gold mines. Thanks everybody for being here for another episode, guys. Dang, we actually got playing, and we actually have done some things, and we're going to keep doing some things as we keep playing. But the truth is, the funny thing is, a lot of our tutorials that we've done for Crusader Kings and for Eve 4, we kind of have to play through a lot of the game to kind of explain things. I have literally, if you can believe it or not, I have almost explained every aspect of this game that you could play this game all the way till 1936 with Chile, and I think you'd do just fine. The only thing we haven't really discussed really is obviously the things that we don't unlock until later in the game, like technologies and stuff, but is the diplomacy in the war. That's the only thing. And I think as we play this series a little bit, as we just kind of do a little bit of a let's play for the next few episodes, we'll get to the point where we can start to examine the political situation and maybe think about Argentina as a potential target or an ally or a threat or whatever. Look at Bolivia and look at these other countries and see if we can do something about them and stuff. So, but thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Playlist link down below will help get you to the next episode so that you find things and you see the episodes in order. Because YouTube can be really bad about recommending stuff in order. But thank you so much, guys, for being here. Love hearing all your comments and feedbacks and stuff in the description. But for now, guys, have a good one, everybody. I will talk to you guys in the next episode.